This episode is brought to you by La Quinta by Wyndham. Your work can take you all over the place, like Texas. You've never been, but it's going to be great because you're staying at La Quinta by Wyndham. Their free Bright Side breakfast will give you energy for the day ahead. And after, you can unwind using their free high-speed Wi-Fi. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you shine. Book your stay today at lq.com.
Your brain needs support, and new Ollie Brainy Chews are a delightful way to take care of your cognitive health. Made with scientifically backed ingredients like Thai ginger, L-theanine, and caffeine, Brainy Chews support healthy brain function and help you find your focus, stay chill, or get energized. Be kind to your mind and get these nootropic chews at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Welcome to Wine with HR. I'm Jules.
Hey there, I'm Trish.
Lawyers turned HR professionals. Through our company, Monarch Endeavors, we guide employers through their oh shit moments with their employees.
In this podcast, we will discuss some of the most common and commonly frustrating HR problems while enjoying our favorite adult beverage, wine.
So sit back, grab a glass if you choose, and join us as we think about and drink about all things HR.
Welcome to this episode of Wine with HR. Today, we are talking about some of the potentially radical changes that are on the horizon, not just in HR, but also in how businesses structure their company.
And we are delighted to have Sarah Epping of Ashling Group with us to discuss this topic. Sarah is the principal and founder of Ashling Group, which is a talent development consulting and leadership coaching firm located in Cleveland.
Cleveland rocks.
Sarah has over 20 years of experience in the field and recently celebrated 7 years with Ashling Group. Round of applause. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you so much for having me. It is really a pleasure to be here. When Julie asked me if I wanted to be on her podcast, I jumped at the chance because I love to geek out with fellow HR peeps. Nobody is the same kind of weird that we are. And I love a good glass of wine. So, I mean, you're combining two of my favorite things today. Yes, I can't even believe it. I have over 20 years in this field. I started when I was 5.
Yes, yeah, clearly.
Yeah, I was thinking about the other day, whenever I get invitations to speak to young professionals groups, I'm like flattered, and then I go, oh, wait.
I'm not one of those anymore.
I'm the wisdom imparter now. I'm not the targeted audience. Oh, geez. But yes, I have over 15 years of corporate HR experience. I like to call myself a recovering HR professional. And I cannot believe that it has been 7 years since I started Ashling Group. And just a little bit about Ashling Group. So Ashling Group is a talent development and consulting coaching firm. I also do speaking engagements. And I pinch myself because this has always been my dream. And we get to do really great work with really cool people all over the world. So what can be better than that?
Oh, wow.
Well
I love it.
Yes. Well, so recovering HR professional, I often say I'm a recovering attorney, but I now also describe myself as an emotional support human.
Oh, yeah.
It's really the best
I feel like
I love that.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
Yeah. A lot of times it's like, can you just be there?
Yeah, can you be my whoopee? Yep. You're going to pay extra for that, but sure. It's an add-on service, maybe to coaching. I don't know.
All right, Sarah, tell us about the name of your company, Ashling Group.
So Ashling is an Irish word.
You're Irish?
I know. If you couldn't tell by looking at me with my strawberry blonde hair and incredibly fair skin. I'm just a little bit Irish.
A little bit.
And so the word Ashling is an Irish word that means a dream or a vision. And I was so taken by that word. And if you travel to Ireland, as I have, you actually see the word Ashling everywhere. It's very meaningful. It elicits a very warm response by the Irish natives. So I loved that. And that's exactly what my company does. So we support individuals, teams, and organizations in figuring out what their vision is, but taking meaningful action towards accomplishing their goals and attaining that vision. It's one thing to have a vision, but you got to actually do something in order to work towards that vision. So that's where we come in, is creating milestones and supporting an emotional support human. And enabling them to do that in very meaningful ways.
I really wish we had a mic to drop. But we won't do that since we're actually in studio today.
Yes, we're all in the same room. It's so fun. Sarah, who are the people that you tend to help? Like, who's your target client?
So my clients are very much all over the board, actually. And that is one of the things that energizes me, is because I don't get bored that way. I don't do the same thing every single day. So some of the organizations that I support are small to mid-size. They maybe don't have a large L&D team or talent development team. And it's nice to have another set of eyes on things or support them and bring in objective opinions and strategies. So I support them in that way. I also support larger companies who sometimes have just looked at something for so long and it's too close.
Yeah.
It's too close to them. And so I can take a look at something objectively and provide ideas. And because I'm not in their organization when it comes to coaching. So I coach many leaders in organizations, from high potential individual contributors all the way up through C-suites. Coaching strong, dynamic female leaders is really where my passion is. But I'll coach anyone who's open to coaching. But, in coaching, you just can create this really awesome, safe space that is unlike any other form of development. It's not like going to a training class. It's not, just taking a self-study or reading a book. And that's where my biggest passion lies in what I do.
Very cool.
I'm just blown away.
Oh, gosh.
Can I just sit here and listen to you this whole episode? I'm not even going to add anything. I'm just going to sit here and go,
gosh. Well, you're going to have to give me something to answer in order for you to listen.
I can do that.
All right. Well, before we get too far into our topic for this episode, we need to talk about the WINE that we're drinking. And because we are in studio, all in the same place, we are all drinking the same thing. So we have a lovely rosé here today from Elizabeth Spencer. It's from the North Coast, vintage 2021, from Napa, California. So Trish, what do you think of it so far?
So far, I like it. I think it's light, crisp. Let me see. Let me take another sip. Hold, please.
Slurp, slurp, slurp.
Please stand by.
Loading.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Okay. Sarah?
So I am a seasonal wine drinker. I assign the type of wine by the season. And so we're in this weird transition season right now, and it's very gray outside. So this is a really good transition into spring wine, I feel like, because it's not a really cozy red and it's not a super crisp white where you're just begging for patio weather.
Truth.
This is a really good, it's getting me excited for warmer weather, but I know I'm still going to have to snuggle under a blankie when I get home.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yes, I was very confused as to what to bring today because the weather could not make up its mind. So,
welcome to Cleveland.
Yeah. And, but I thought maybe by bringing a nice rosé, we can manifest spring into existence.
There you go.
Please.
So, and we're trying to get clear skies for the eclipse.
Yes.
That would be really nice.
I'm really, really excited for that.
Yes. All right. So, Trish, why don't you tell us what the WHINE of the week is?
You're not going to make me sing, are you, Jules?
No.
Okay. Just making sure. Okay, so we are talking in this episode about some of those radical shifts, like I mentioned earlier, that are going to or are currently taking place in the work world. So, Sarah, since you were the one who suggested the topic, why don't you enlighten our listeners about what we're talking about? Give them the nitty-gritty specifics.
Yeah. So when Julie and I first chatted about podcast topics, we both had a lot of energy around this when I brought it up. I stumbled upon, just because I'm, again, an HR geek and I, in my free time, still read HR articles about engagement in the workforce and things of that nature. I stumbled upon a couple of articles that talked about the future of work. And relatively recent, as recent as 2022, and talking about how this paradigm shift of how we think about accomplishing the work is changing. Whereas it's time to start revisiting, are all of these roles in our organizations truly, do they need to be full-time allocated roles? Do we need an FTE for all of these things? Or
that's full-time employee for those of you who might not know.
For those of you who don't speak HR geek, we'll provide a glossary of acronyms at the end. So
in the show notes.
The show notes, yes. Follow us for more HR advice. So this is going to require us to think very differently. And I was fascinated by the numbers around freelancing, just the populations, the rise in freelancing and gig workers, and how this is really going to shift the way we think about accomplishing the work. And if you've been in HR or you've been an organizational leader for a really long time, you better hold on to your hat, because this is going to require you to be a bit open and think of things very, very differently.
Yeah, one of the things that Sarah and I were talking about is how do we help those folks embrace this rather than just be like, I need to just open and down a bottle of wine.
Yes.
Like what we're doing today.
And drown my sorrows, yes. Because there are some potential real benefits to this sort of shift. So
on both sides.
Yeah, on both sides. So, Trisha.
Yes.
You love your stats, so why don't you hit us with some of them?
So one of the articles that Sarah provided us had, of course, fabulous stats. And as everyone knows, I love my stats. So I want to share a few of them, and then I'll ask Sarah to tell you more about the article and also share some more stats. So some of the benefits of freelancing or gig work: financial gain, flexibility, and control. Now, these are the reasons that people are leaving traditional work, right? I love this. Like that idea of flexibility and control, the ability to control what you earn. I mean, talk about knowing your value.
Oh, we all did it.
Yeah, exactly. Here we are.
We are this population at your service.
And I can tell you that I am definitely more satisfied with all areas of my work. And that seems to be the trend, right? We are more satisfied than those who are non-freelancers. And the majority of freelancers actually report that the freedom and control offered by freelancing enables a greater focus, and this is the part that I love so much, on health and well-being. Mm-hmm. Now, here's where the fun stats come in. So on this last number, talking about health and well-being, 74%, of course, say just overall, they have a greater control over their own life. 73% said, well, I like to do it because it gives me flexibility. That way I can actually focus on my mental and physical health needs. 69% say, well, it's all about that work-life balance. And my other favorite, overall, their general health has improved since they started freelancing. I mean,
it's pretty powerful.
Wow. Yeah. And I could definitely say that from a personal standpoint, my work-life balance is just off the charts. Yeah. I am happier.
I agree.
I love what I do.
Yeah, I'm in control of my life.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
The only PSA is if any of the powers that be are listening, stop tying healthcare to employment.
That's a different podcast.
It is a different podcast, but that would make it 100%.
Oh my gosh.
I agree.
Because that's the one drawback about being a freelancer is that's a challenge. But anyway.
But this could be a great argument for that for employers. Like
it's one of the most expensive things that they have to pay for. So
you got it.
Exactly.
All right. So sorry, little tangent there.
No, I liked that tangent. That was a good one. So, Sarah, tell us more about the article and give us some more stats, please.
Yeah. So this trend does not shock me in the slightest of what we're seeing with more and more people considering freelancing and entering into work freelancing. Because honestly, during the pandemic, if you think about it, most people learned what the three of us and those of us who are self-employed had already discovered years ago, which is there's more to life than work. Mm-hmm. And that work is a part of your life. Work is a means to living your life. It should not take over and be your life.
Or suck the life out of you.
Or suck the life out of you, right? And so people really had this time to think about and prioritize what was important. And they thought about how they work, why they work, and where they're choosing to spend their time, where they're exchanging this time for money. Bottom line, they stumbled upon our secret, essentially. And
the Gen Zers are out there going, we've known this.
They have known this. And so fun fact, in my spare time, I'm adjunct faculty for Bowling Green State University College of Business, go Falcons, and my alma mater. And I will tell you, these young students, don't keep me prisoner in your office if I don't need to be. But if you are a seasoned HR professional or leader and you've been doing this work for a really long time, you might be thinking to yourself, who are these woo-woo people that these, gig workers, these self-employed ladies are talking about? What are the actual population numbers? So let me just share a couple highlights with you all, because it is astounding when you think of the numbers. So according to this article from 2022 from Forbes, 36% of Americans, that's 59 million, no small number, 59 million Americans performed freelance work in 2021. That is a third of the U.S. workforce. And 35% of that 59 million, that's over 20 million, P.S., freelance full-time.
Yeah, that's
full-time. So what does that mean in earnings? What does that mean to the economy? Because we always hear about, the economy. Here's what happens to the economy. So freelancers contribute $1.3 trillion. That's with a T, y'all. $1.3 trillion in annual earnings. And that, by the way, and that was in 2022, that is up $50 billion from the year before, from 2021.
With a B, y'all.
With a B, y'all. So how about young professionals? Because, I believe the children are our future, in the words of Whitney Houston.
I believe the children are our future.
Thank you, Julie.
She had to sing on at least one portion of
right
the podcast.
On cue. I'll let you handle that one. So 51% of recent college graduates are doing freelance work post-graduation.
Wait, what was that number?
51%. Wow. Of recent college graduates are doing freelance work post-graduation. And they're either doing it because they want to keep their skills sharp while they're looking for a full-time job. But what's happening in that way then is it's opening them up to realizing that this is an actual career track.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And I can literally design my life and decide what I want to do, where I want to do it, and the companies that I want to spend my time supporting. So in this Forbes article, they pretty much say that if this pace continues, more than 50% of the workforce, 85.5 million people, will be participating either full-time or part-time in the gig economy by 2027.
That's around the corner.
Only a couple years away.
You got it. So if we don't figure out how to support this way of doing work, whereas instead of exchanging my time for money, I'm exchanging my expertise for money.
Right.
we are not going to support this future workforce and other populations who benefit. We'll talk about that momentarily, I know, but think about that. We either get on board and consider how to make this work, or we're going to be left behind.
We actually have a young gentleman who is, I think he's a junior this year, will be a senior at Miami of Ohio, who's going to come on and guest star. And this is exactly what we're going to focus on, is what people of his generation are looking for.
I love that.
What they're learning and what they can bring to the economy, to a particular business. So you'll love that one.
These students, I got to tell you that, the younger generation gets a bad rap. And I don't really think it's generational. I think it's age-based, because I don't know about you guys, but when I was in my 20s and had a shiny new degree under my belt, I was full of piss and vinegar too. And it didn't matter. They want to work. They want to work hard, but they are incredibly protective of their life, of their time.
Exactly.
They have grown up watching their parents work themselves to the bone, and they want to create a life that they love. And oh, by the way, they're going to be able to give more when they are at work because of that balance. So I'm not going to go off on that tangent. 100%. It sounds like, preaching to the choir here, ladies. But yeah, it opens up a lot of doors.
Well, I think it's really important to note that as well, because in our next episode, we talk about how you can develop from within to help fill some of the gaps that are being created by this tight labor market. Yeah. But this is the point. A lot of people who are looking for work nowadays have no interest in working 40 hours a week or more, and having to report to a job every single day and be micromanaged and not really have autonomy when they could be doing things a different way.
Right. And I think that's a great point. Sure. I mean, we've talked about the young professionals and recent college grads, but when I look at the people in my life, just everyday adults, middle-aged adults, whatever, we have individuals who are caregivers, parents, who maybe don't want to spend 40 plus hours a week in an organization, but they do have a lot to contribute. I also think about individuals who are differently abled, right? Who maybe they physically cannot work 40 hours a week, but man, do they have so much to contribute 100%. To an organization by way of skill set, right? So this makes opportunities available. And we've got an aging workforce population. Yep. I don't think these folks necessarily want to be thrown into retirement or forced into retirement. But what if they could sunset a little bit easier, and then that organization reaps the benefits from them working part-time?
This is becoming hugely popular. More and more companies are actually looking to do that. And it works well for the person, too.
Right.
I actually have some stats on that. So
you do?
Okay. I don't want to be left out of the stat game here. So.
Share your stats, girl.
Okay. So over half of freelancers are providing knowledge services like IT, marketing, computer programming, and business consulting, or HR consulting like us.
Whoop, whoop.
The number of freelancers with a postgraduate degree is also increasing. In 2022, 1 in 4 freelancers held a postgraduate degree versus 1 in 5 from the year before. So it is not just the young kids, it's people like us who are like, I can take my skills on the road.
I'm going to take my talents.
And 52% of freelancers are caregivers, which is what you were just talking about, Sarah. And Tricia and I are both in that category. And 80% of those say that freelancing gives them the flexibility to be more available as a caregiver for their family. So as that workforce continues to age, as your employees continue to have additional burdens outside of work, this becomes a really good solution many times.
Absolutely. Or for moms. Think about the people that want to come back to work or want to get in the workforce. We were having that conversation in, was it our last episode or the one before?
Gender pay gap episode.
Yes, in our gender pay gap episode. And we were mentioning our friend Deborah, who you all have met. She guest starred once as well. And just think about the transferable skills that I mean, of course, she had those skills forever and ever, but she's used them as a mom. She's used them in the workplace. And I think about someone who wants to get back into the workforce, but can't, right? Maybe the money isn't enough yet, or maybe it's just whatever's going on. It won't allow them to go in. And then, wow, here we go. Here's a part-time opportunity. I can do that.
Right.
Or the freelance gigs. Amazing.
Right. And you said, for whatever reason, they're not able to get back in. Well, if everything is a full-time opportunity and not everybody is able to work full-time hours for whatever reason. And by the way, the reason doesn't matter. It should not matter. It's we all have a choice of how we want to spend our time, but talk about transferable skills. Right. Have you ever negotiated with a child? I mean, that alone, that alone should get you into like hostage negotiation situations, partnering with like a SWAT team. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
This episode is brought to you by ShipStation. If you run an e-commerce business, you know how much work it takes to produce something great while dealing with complicated shipping issues. That's why over 130,000 companies have turned to ShipStation, an innovative tool that allows you to focus less on shipping and more on building your brand. With ShipStation, you can manage orders, label printing, reporting, and customer service on one easy-to-use dashboard. You'll reduce warehouse costs with reliable enterprise solutions and save thousands on shipping costs with discounts up to 89% off. Plus, you can effortlessly import orders from everywhere you sell online. So, turn your shipping challenges into opportunities for growth. Go to ShipStation.com and use code POD to sign up for your free 60-day trial. That's ShipStation.com, code POD.
Do you love news about LinkedIn, Indeed, Google, and just about every other recruitment tech company out there?
Hell yeah. I'm Chad.
I'm Cheese.
We're the Chad and Cheese Podcast.
All the latest recruiting news and insights are on our show.
Dripping in snark and attitude.
Subscribe today wherever you listen to your podcasts. We out.
So I think we need to talk a little bit about how companies could start incorporating freelance work, because you do have to be strategic about it. You can't just be like, okay, we're going to put out I'll call the freelancers. Tell us what you can do for us, So Sarah, what are some tips that you have for how businesses could start taking advantage of the fact that there is this large group of people who want to work in a different way?
Yeah, I think the first thing is to realize it's not appropriate for every role.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not going to be appropriate for every role. And as excited as we get talking about it, we also realize that there are some limitations based on whatever the work output is or the nature of the role, right? But when we do talk about things like knowledge workers and things of that nature, that might be a great starting point. Mm-hmm. And I think instead of looking at the role in a traditional sense of, well, this is just the way it's always been, the first thing that we need to do is examine the work, the work output. And I don't have all the answers. I don't know what that is. This is uncharted territory when we're talking about it on a corporate scale, right? But looking at the work and examining what needs to get done and asking new questions that we haven't considered before, like how can this be done? When can this be done? Where can this be done? And by who? And maybe it's not an FTE. Maybe it's 2 part-timers. Or maybe it's, based on the role, we need somebody to tackle this project and we're going to hire somebody for that. And maybe it's this project, which is slightly different. We're going to hire an expert for that. But it's looking at what the actual work output is and getting away from this traditional paradigm of everything being tied together in a role with a lovely bow that necessitates 40 plus hours a week.
Yeah, I have a great example of that. So I have a client who is dealing with the situation, and we have been looking at it very strategically, but they have one employee in particular who is retiring, and thankfully that person has given them tons of notice. So we've had a year to figure it out. But this person started with the company when it was, 10 employees. It's now hundreds of employees. And so when you start off with a company, we all know, because we all own our own businesses, you do everything, right? So
at all times of day.
Yes. So this person has, through the years, just developed this hodgepodge of stuff that she is responsible for.
She's the kitchen sink.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so when we started looking at it objectively, we were like, okay, wait, this part of it, this belongs in HR. This part belongs in payroll. This part belongs in admin. This part belongs over here. There really is no reason to hire somebody to replace her because it doesn't make sense from a work standpoint, like you were just saying, to keep it in one person. It makes more sense to put it back where it belongs.
No, she just collected crap as she went along, right? Like a snowball. You just pick stuff up.
Yep.
And it just sticks to you. And then they go, oh, well, that's been taken care of. So Sheila's going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it make sense for Sheila to do that? Maybe not.
Right. And so then the other thing that could happen in a situation like that is you start looking at parts of it and think, okay, well, are any of these things that we might be able to hire a consultant for or farm out to a third party or, like you said, hire for a particular project or whatever the case may be. But I think that's a concrete example of how somebody could start this process.
I love that. And you know what I was just thinking as you were saying that, if we always tell people, talk to your employees, ask them how things have changed.
Oh my gosh, you might actually have to talk to people, Trish.
I know.
That is revolutionary thinking.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're so smart.
We actually have episodes on how to do that.
Oh my gosh, you're so smart. Go back and listen to the episodes, y'all.
But talk to your employees and find out what they think about their job. Like, how has it changed over this past year? Have we added something to their job that maybe has created some sort of a performance issue for them, or maybe a personal issue because now they're having to, now I'm working 50 or 60 hours, whereas before I was working 40, 45 or something like that. And then you can start looking at, does this actually make sense for this role? And maybe doing some sort of an outsourcing gig.
Yeah, and that you just made me think about, so a great place to start. We're not going to look at every single role and start doing an about face and saying, well, you can choose if you want to work full-time or part-time, right? We're not going to do that. But as natural attrition happens in your organization, for you non-HR geeks, that's another HR term. That means when people leave voluntarily and there's a natural turnover and you have a vacancy. All right, close parentheses. But when that natural attrition happens and then these roles are open, really examining the role and talking to the individuals who not only have done that role, interface with that role, lead that role, and partner with that role to say, what makes sense here? What actually makes sense? Versus then just continuing to regurgitate the job posting and post that requisition out on Indeed and LinkedIn and all that stuff because it's just the way it's always been done.
Yeah. Yeah. And the challenge is taking the time to do it because that's where us HR people are going to be kicking and screaming, right? Like telling your kid to, go to bed early and brush their teeth and all that kind of fun stuff. That's where we're going to be kicking and screaming because I don't want to. I have enough stuff to do. Right. I have enough stuff to do. And now you want me to re-examine this role when it's really just easier for me to post it. Yeah. But if we aren't open to thinking about things differently, we are going to get left behind. Yeah. Well, and like you said, they can hire you. They could hire us. They could, right? But have that outside person. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to figure it all out. Like use the expertise that's out there.
Maybe working with your managers too. Yeah.
Right.
Because we have a lot of managers that listen as well. So it's not just an HR task.
Right. Yeah. And have the mindset that this is new. This is exploratory. Nobody's cracked the code on this yet. And we're all figuring this out. Even as consultants, we're just beginning to have these conversations and figuring it out. So we're gonna stub our toe every now and then, and we're gonna bump along as we figure it out. But it might actually be worthwhile.
Absolutely. I think the other important thing is when companies are starting to kind of consider where they might be able to start trying out some freelance or, consulting positions, is it's not going to be the stuff that's central to your business. If you make widgets, you're not going to bring in a consultant to make widgets.
Right. They're going to partner with you for a month and then be on their journey. No.
Those are going to be your employees.
Correct.
But the people who do HR, who do payroll, and we're not trying to get people fired here. We're just saying these are some things that it's sort of that tangential stuff that keeps the business going, but that doesn't necessarily... It's not critical to your business.
It's not for every role. This is not, we're not suggesting this for every role.
Right.
Well, and a lot of these too, remember, we're not saying that we're going to replace, as an example, our HR people. We're saying
exactly
we might be the ones supporting them because they're into maybe over their heads.
Yes. Yep.
Or they're growing and they don't know how to grow, or whatever the case may be. So
emotional support humans.
Yes, we can be those.
Exactly. And you're not going to...
There's your new... If you'd like to be an ESH.
Contact your doctor about ESH. Oh gosh. But think about it. You're not gonna freelance your C-suites either, right? So this is only up to certain points in the organization. You don't want an entire executive team of people who are all freelancers.
Right.
You still need people who are leading the charge of the organization and with skin in the game all the time, every day for multiple years, and have that consistency, right? But for how the work gets executed, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and I think another way that people can start, Trisha and I talk a lot about this in a lot of our trainings, is if you do identify a particular department, like let's say HR, and again, we're not looking to replace HR, but how can we better support them? Have your HR folks do a time study. So have them keep track of everything they do for an entire week, and then figure out and how long they spend on those tasks, and then start to look at what is sucking up all of their time, and is that something we can get off their plate? So oftentimes that's FMLA and ADA, because those things suck up time. They're very complicated. There's tons of paperwork with FMLA. You can outsource that.
You know how many people do just that?
Yes.
As self-employed individuals who have created a company. You want a policy written? Why agonize over doing that yourself?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And little buzzkill here, I do have to say, regarding the time study piece. Be careful of how you message and communicate the time study, right? So you want to be very gingerly, pun intended, from the sole ginger in the room. Be gingerly about how you communicate that in a way that doesn't sound like you're analyzing the time of your HR team and they're under the microscope and they have to show how they prove value. Obviously, they prove value. That's not what this is about.
Yeah. No, part of the messaging is we know that you are overwhelmed, or we know that you've got a ton on your plate and you give so much to us. We're trying to figure out, are there things we can take away so you can focus on the more important work?
Help me help you.
Yes.
I love that. Yes. That's one of my favorite things.
Yes, me too.
Or how can I help you?
I
had a guy in one of my classes, and his line was, how can I help you succeed? And I thought, ooh, I'm stealing that. Mm-hmm. How can I help you succeed today?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please, take that.
Yeah, help me help you. I mean, we could all use a little more help these days.
Yeah.
Nobody's above. Touche, Trish. Nobody should be above asking for help.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I have one more buzzkill, which is I know.
The recovering employment law attorney over here.
I know. But it is an employment law point, which is if you do start employing freelancers, you have to make sure they are truly independent contractors.
Yes.
So that means a 1099.
Yes, a 1099. But it means more than that, because the Department of Labor just came out with some new well, they're old, but they're new again.
Yes.
You know, everything comes
What's
back
old is
around.
new? Nothing is new, Julie.
They came back out with the factors that they look at. So we'll include a link to that in our show notes. But you definitely want to make sure that you have them set up correctly and they are truly an independent contractor.
I was just
Talk to your
reading
legal
an article
counsel.
on
Yes.
that last
Make
week.
sure you have a contractor agreement
Yes.
stipulating what that means, what your expectations are, what you will not
What the
afford to them.
deliverables are.
Exactly right.
Yes, yes. So do all the things.
For all the people, all the time.
Wait, this is about
Most of the
HR
time.
professionals.
Yeah,
We
most of the
do all of the things for all the people
really,
all the time.
really do. We do. We really are. I mean, you know, think about it. I've always said for as long as I've been in this industry, I've always thought about HR to me is the most important role in an organization. And that's because an organization is just an entity. It's an entity, it's a building. Good luck to you if you don't have people making that organization work. And we could get off on a tangent of AI that I will just not go off on today, but that's a totally different podcast topic, I am sure. But if your people are not supported and not empowered and engaged, good luck to you. And we talk about organizational change, it's people change. Yeah. That's what it is. And if it wasn't for HR to support those humans in their lives, in their organizations, again, you'd be at a huge deficit without that.
Keep the human in human resources,
Agreed.
people always say, and I love that.
Well, and now there's this trend of calling it people and culture. I don't care what you call it.
Right.
It all centers around human beings, people, the talent in your organization. If you don't have that, you don't have an organization.
Period.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Totally. And again, we won't do that.
No, because we don't own this equipment.
Right.
No. All right.
It's
So
very fancy.
this has been a great conversation.
I've had such a good time.
Yes. So I think we should do a round of final thoughts on the conversation and then the wine. So Trish, any final thoughts?
Yes, Julie, I actually do have a final thought. Shocker.
Just one. Just one left.
I'm all out of thoughts, but this one does somehow seem to be rattling around up there. Talking about the hiring process, and everyone knows that I love onboarding and hiring and really helping people feel welcome and included. And so I get that some people out there are probably thinking you're messing with that whole thing. And the truth is that we're not. We are giving you another tool in your tool belt or your bucket or whatever you want to say. This is just one more tool for you to use during this critical time, because there are a lot of people out there that want to work, but again, maybe cannot, as we've already said, full time. There are a lot of people out there. Mm-hmm. So it's really not that the labor market is that short or that there aren't a lot of qualified, talented, amazing people out there. It's just that maybe a 40-hour-a-week position on site isn't going to work for them. So this is just another tool, y'all. Do not freak out. Okay, there's my thought. What about you,
Sarah?
So the freak out is real. Let's be honest, and I want to honor that because, again, if you're a seasoned HR professional or a leader and you've been in your seat for a really long time, change is scary, and it's scary for everyone. But that doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. And so let's dip our toe in the water, at least. Let's again, nobody's got it all figured out. Let's dip our toe in the water with a couple of open recs that you have out there. And maybe encourage yourself to partner up with those managers and the individuals who interface with those roles and just have some open conversations, not making any commitments of what you're going to do, but having some conversations so that you can think of the role differently. I get it. This is a paradigm shift. We have never really looked at work this way before, but we are also in a different time than we've ever been before, where lifestyles and livelihoods are important. And, as a person who has supported employees throughout her entire career, I'm most excited about the employee engagement benefits. You engage your employees, you show them that you care not just about their work, but about their life. They will give back to you tenfold. And I know I use the word employees, but I just mean talent in general, whether that's an actual employee, someone who's part-time, or even freelancers. I love my clients. As a freelancer, as a self-employed person, I have those clients where they call, I come running. Because I am willing to do whatever it takes to support them in their mission and supporting their employees. And you can reap those rewards too.
Absolutely.
Ooh, that was good.
Yeah. And I think it's important to keep in mind that a lot of how we see things is how we think about things. And so if we can have those freakouts, you can go close a room and scream at the top of your lungs, or do whatever you need to do to get it out.
The roof, maybe.
Yeah, maybe the roof. Well, just not too close to the edge, though.
Be careful up there.
Yeah. But get the freak out, and then start asking, how could this benefit us? Like, flip the script. Start thinking about, hey, this is happening, to the point we've been making the whole time. This is happening whether you get on board or not. So it's like the train is either going to pass you by, or you're going to be running to catch up to it, or you can be driving it. So
I want to drive a train.
Right?
I do not.
Oh, it's going to be so fun.
I'm pretty sure it's not driving a train either, but operating a train. But anyway,
Fair.
This is happening. So how can you make it work for you? And to Sarah's point, it doesn't have to be 100% right away. Pick one small area or one small role where somebody is leaving, where you have a prime opportunity to really look at that role, look at the work that's being done, figure out if you might be able to try this out, and then see how it works.
I think we all get so stuck being comfortable because comfort is easy and it feels good. But if we only do what's comfortable, we can't imagine what could be.
Yeah, there's no change.
We're not open to possibility and what could be. And that would make us stagnant.
Yeah, change is hard, but change can also be wonderful.
Exactly.
Here. Let's cheers to that.
All right.
My glass is empty, but I will cheers anyway.
Well, we have more.
You're going to top me off, Jules?
Yes, of course.
Oh, here Jules is right on board with the top off. Right on cue.
I am. Okay, so we do need to ask, what are you thinking about the wine now, Trish?
Now I am thinking I really do want spring.
Right?
Yes.
Like you want to be on a patio somewhere.
And yeah. I could be on a patio with a blanket or a heater, but I need to...
Outdoor fire pit.
Yes. See, that's what we need to do.
Yeah. With my dog, a nice glass of this wine.
Right?
Watching some spring flowers, getting ready to bust open, and just ready for...
All the things.
Ready for change. I see what you did there.
Ooh.
Hope springs eternal.
Wow.
That was deep.
So Julie, on that note, how did you like the wine?
It is like hope in a glass.
She's just nodding. She wasn't saying anything. Like our audience can actually see you.
It's like it's hope in a glass. Hope in a glass. Yeah.
That's high praise. Hope in a glass.
Yeah.
I have to say, you guys, I have been honored to be a guest on many, many podcasts, and this has been so fun. But this is the first one I've ever had the pleasure of enjoying wine during. And that really is a game changer.
Right?
It is, isn't it?
Right?
Wow. What a great idea. You really stumbled on something.
Welcome to our life.
Which is the life of a freelancer.
Yes. Ding, ding, ding. Yes. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Sarah,
it's really been so much fun.
So
thank you.
It was a very important conversation. We will have all of Sarah's information in the show notes. We'll also put it on social so that people can find you and gain your wisdom for themselves.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, and with that,
I have to say, follow us on social and tune in wherever you get your podcast so you can see all of our other amazing ideas and
Episodes.
Cheers! Cheers! Clink!
We have the coolest plastic wine glasses. So they're not making any cheers sound.
I know.
Feel like we have to go ding. There we go.
There you go. Or as they say in Ireland, since Aisling is an Irish word, sláinte.